morning. I feel like I needed to turn up the volume. Okay, now I've got nervous because I was practicing how to say her name, and now I'm getting nervous again, Benny. You're waiting for me to say it. I'm nervous.
You gotta just jump in with 2 feet. You gotta jump in. You gotta do it.
Cherie.
It's Acharya Cha, as in like.
Gosh, see, I was practicing.
Acharya Chunya. Yeah.
Acharya Chunya. It's the beautiful title, and we're going to get into that beautifulness in just a minute, you guys. We've got wholeness, we got radical self-acceptance, we got love, all right here in the Gratitude Cafe. Benny, how are you, love?
Good, very well. Hope you had a great Easter weekend last weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Are the boys still...
You're like, oh, yeah, no big deal, yeah.
Yeah,
well your kids are out and they've kind of probably doing their own little thing, but we were in full force this weekend. I feel like I'm still taking a breath back from, there was a lot going on.
I bet. You've got a few different families and hopping all over, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're still doing that, and we've mixed in a birthday in there too, so why not?
Why not?
I know, right?
Why not?
It was a great weekend, though.
Good. Beautiful. Pacific Northwest. Hey, I'm coming up on Friday.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to go play. I've got a girlfriend visiting from California. So I'm going to go up and play in Seattle and, of course, visit my old town, Woodinville, and say hello to
your old town. Like, oh, your old town.
My other home.
The old stomping ground.
I used to ride my horse through Woodinville, downtown Woodinville.
I think you still can.
No, they put a horse prohibited sign on during fair times. You can, but no, not anymore.
It's funny. The other day, we actually went on a bike ride yesterday. The boys and I, the girlfriend and her kids and all that, we're out there. We did the Seuss Trail. I don't know if anyone's done that. It's through Kent in the Kent Highlands area.
Yeah.
So it's Seuss, Soos. It's a great little ride for even the littles to even up tall. So we're at one of the intersections where the main road where it meets the trail. So everyone's got to stop and all that. There's a little button on the bottom. I literally had a moment, why? And it was a blonde moment. If you want to consider it that, it is. And there's a button down below, obviously, when you trigger the crosswalk. And then there's one a little higher up. I'm like, how can anybody reach that? Is someone going to jump up there and get it? And you saw my answer, because it's a horse. If you're on horseback, you can't reach down.
Oh, wow.
I just drew a blank. And then my girlfriend goes, probably because there's horses allowed on this trail too. I'm like, oh, yes. Boom.
Oh, yeah, we don't have those in Woodinville. No.
So I don't know if you're familiar with seeing the one.
No, not at all. To all of those out in the country, thank you. And be safe. Watch your surroundings.
Totally.
Totally watch your surroundings. Oh, that's adorable, Benny. Okay. Hi, everybody. The YouTube world. We have a wonderful guest today, and I'm super excited. We're going to Vedic. We're going spiritual. We're going grounded. We're going radical forgiveness. We're doing clear, honest, loving advice. Our intention is always to give you information, education, and it's a new you, a new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas. You take what resonates and leave the rest. It's all in love and compassion. And I'm super excited to bring this guest today, like I am every week, but here we go. Before I get started, I want to remind you, Mother's Day weekend is coming up. I know it's next month, but it's coming up. But what I wanted to do, and why I'm telling you this, is because my team and I are going to do a live mini C2C the week of May 3rd. And there's going to be some special little goodies for that. And why not honor yourself as a mother, however that shows up in your world, and do the mini C2C, the live mini C2C. That's one-on-one coaching with me for 5 days, Monday through Friday, every morning. It is so fun. You'll have unlimited access. You're going to get real life self-regulating tools. You're going to, of course, get me and inspiration and goofiness and getting y'all fired up. And of course, love and real life self-regulating tools for real life in real time. So if that sounds good to you, especially with everything that's going on, we have opportunities galore for self-regulating and everything that is happening in our lifetime right now. So with that, you can go to SueLundquist.com/the-letter-C and the number 2 and the letter C. If you have any other information, you can just email me and my team at what is it? supersuecares@gmail.com. I had to remember what that
Yeah,
was.
you have so many. I mean,
Well, you could just go to SueLundquist.com as well, and you'd find everything there. Wow. Okay. I just got nervous again because I really want to do good by the name. Benny,
I'll
you
do
do
it.
it. Do it.
we welcome Acharya Shunya.
Oh, boy, Benny, you
Got it
got so
twisted. She's all.
me. Oh, okay. Here, we're talking international. I'm going to do the formal bio, and then we're going to bring you on because you've got to tell the meaning of the title and then that beautiful meaning of the name as well. Internationally renowned spiritual teacher and scholar of non-dual wisdom, and an award-winning and classical trained master of yoga and Ayurveda, the first female head of her 2,000-year Indian spiritual lineage. Holy macaronis, this is amazing. She is dedicated her life to the dissemination of Vedic knowledge for the spiritual uplifting of all beings. And she's the president of the Awakening Self Foundation and author of the best-selling book, Our Vedic Lifestyle Wisdom, which became one of the top 10 books in alternative medicine in 2017. Today, she is birthing a new baby here with us on the Gratitude Cafe, and her latest book is The Sovereign Self. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. All right, you got to so of course I can do the formal bio, but let's get to know you and your energy and love and all of that. So I'm going to let you take it.
Well, my name is Shunya, which means infinity. And I think I got that name. In India, naming is a big thing. And my guru was also my paternal grandfather. And I think he must have named me Shunya because he wanted me to not stay small inside me for sure.
Wow.
And then I studied and I went deep into the ancient Indian philosophy, teachings, practices of the non-dual wisdom. And I came out after 14 long years with the title Acharya, which means a master teacher. And then when I was 24, I was given this, I was bequeathed the title or the responsibility of leading my lineage. And in India, 2,000 years, we know our lineage, we know our names, we know our family. So it's a very ancient culture. And my ancestors have contributed to the original wisdom books of India called the Vedas. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So do you feel, well, let's jump into this. Do you feel that you were born into this, or was there a little bit of time where you took away, or was this kind of a gradual, this was you, this was life, this was you living?
I was born in India that was changing. I was born in the 1960s, and India went through a lot of change from being a traditional culture to being a world economy anchored in the world with aspirations that are very international and, with the times. So I've definitely had a period, especially through my age 14, 15 to about 18, when I had some angst. It was not angst as in it was pulling at me because I had a charmed life in that sense, but it was definitely something like, is this going to be relevant? Is only my family this way because the rest of India was caught up in cricket and Bollywood, and while we were more traditional and scholarly, and we had more spiritual disciplines. But we were also progressive deep inside us. We were also expanded. We were also meditating. So all in all, I think it was a happy story. That's
yes. Well, I think those are good questions all around, right? And I think we as humans and as teenagers, they may go a little bit farther off on the wing and then come back in alignment later on in life. All of it is wisdom. All of it is as it should be, at least in my experience, my thought. So tell me about your new book. And I have to tell you, somehow, somewhere, my copy got lost in the mail. So by chance, do you have a copy with you?
I don't have it handy this
Okay.
very minute,
Okay.
but I'm so excited about it. Sounds True is the publisher, and it's a beautiful red book, hard copy, and probably it's the first book of its kind in the English language, which makes the esoteric wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, the yoga philosophy, like really tangible in the here and now, with stories from my students worldwide, a lot of them in America, but really, I now, thanks to technology, I and my lineage, we have students worldwide. And these are the real stories of love and loss and betrayal and codependency or addictions. And how can we use the ancient Hindu wisdom in today's context and be free? And that's where the title comes, Sovereign Self, like free within, to not be so attached and clingy, and where we lose our power.
Oh, we're talking the same language completely. And losing our personal power and diminishing ourselves. I like how your teacher, was it your paternal grandfather, Infinite, didn't want you to diminish that light within you. And I love that you had that elder and that teaching. And there's, quite honestly, there's many of us that don't have that opportunity. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but look at this beautiful gem of a book that you've created and the people that you've been able to facilitate that change. Even, and audience, I'm addressing you as well as myself. Now you have a book and a tool. You say, well, I didn't have the elder, I didn't have the so-and-so to help me. Well, guess what? You do now. You have it right here, right now. Talk to me about, do you have like an aha moment in one of your clients or a story that you can tell us based from the book that really changed either your life or even your client's life? I'm sure there's many, right?
I have so many stories. For example, there was someone I knew who was really needy sexually, and things were not, not needy sexually to the point of sickness, but she was not getting regular sex at home in her relationship with her husband. And then she ended up having an affair behind the back of her husband. Now, at one level, it's justified because she's not getting what she needed. So she went and got what she wanted. But then when you sneak around behind behind the back of someone you love, you get diminished. You don't feel sovereign. You're in the bondage of whatever you've been craving. And then you're lying. And then you're covering up the lies with more lies. And so suddenly, from being this vivacious woman who had everything going for her, that one need, which she could not get, reduced her to having like one night stands and lying and sneaking. But then when she became my student and she started learning the very things that I was talking about, she just found within her this ability to not be apologetic or shamed, but to honestly lay it out on the table for her husband and say, I need this. I'm having a couple of or I've had a couple of, slings here, there, a few things happening. I'm not proud of that, but I'm not going to lead this life. And we either see a therapist or it's over. And I'm not going to take any shame because I know what I want. And this is my body calling out, and I'm not going to give it things in secrecy. And she started having an open sexual life in that same family.
Wow.
And this is being sovereign. Sovereign is not being prudish. Sovereign is not having to sit with your head shaved, being celibate or vegan under a tree.
Right.
Because that's just wearing more spiritual marks and being branded as spiritual. Spiritual means you could go to an orgy, if that's what you determine to be the right thing for you. It's just that you don't want to do it from a place of diminished, we're using that word today, but from an infinite mindset rather than a diminished mindset. So
I think it's important to discern the two because, us in traditional world, we understand, well, I made myself small. Yeah. Well, of course, we would love for you to be infinite, but you say the word infinite and they're like, I don't even know what that feels like, especially if somebody's in that spiral, right? Of self-doubt and they're in the muck of it.
Right? That's a great question. And that's where that second word in my book, sovereign self, comes up. So, according to the great ancient Indian philosophy known as the Vedic philosophy, just like you have Buddhist philosophy or Christian philosophy, we have the Vedic, which predates Hinduism, predates every religion that came out of India, and it's a universal, timeless philosophy. According to the Vedic philosophy, so each one of us has an invisible self. It's not this body, it's not the mind, it's not even that little shadowy ego that is born from if the body's feeling fat, the shadow feels unhappy. If the, it's a true joyous, expansive state of being. And so you are more infinite when you are feeling expansive, naturally supported by the life that you have. It may not be pretty, but you feel grateful, like internally. You don't have to think it or psych yourself into it, but you wake up excited. You feel like you have possibilities. You feel like you've learned from your messes in the past, and you feel like you're the author of the script of your life. I would say that would be an infinite mindset because there is still time to be who you were meant to be. There is still time to lead the life you were meant to be leading because you're no longer feeling diminished or constrained by scripts, conditioning, habits, lies, and shame.
Oh, shames and illusions.
Yeah, and those kind
Oh,
of things.
yes. And all those past experiences based on shame or choices. And the audience knows there's adjectives to describe, but I use the language, we all have opportunities. Some people call it challenges, some people call it fears, some people call it that. If you can come from a CC's, compassionate curiosity, and have it and take it as compassionate, be compassionate, not only for yourself, but for the other person, and get curious, it opens the heart more than that contracted energy, right? And coming from a space of fear. So let's talk to those people, because we've got quite a bit of opportunities, or AKA fears, and spinning out in society right now. How can your book, and also being sovereign within themselves, knowing authentically, big anchor words for me that I use are authentic and genuine, that really feel authentic and genuine to me. And how can we apply your tips and tools and the Vedic, all that you have to offer in your book? What kind of tips and tools can we give the audience to help them with their opportunities now?
The entire book is broken up into three parts. And the first part is an analysis of why we suffer. And,
Okay.
a lot of pop spiritualities tell us, or even teachers from India might tell us to chant a mantra, breathe by holding your nose this way, that way, but they don't shed light on how the hell are you ruining your own opportunities, and how you're not being authentic and how you're not being genuine and what exactly happened. So in the first part, we dehack what is happening. And I talk about how we get caught up by our ordinary desires, our ordinary likes and dislikes. Let's not allow them to become attachments to such a level, because when we become attached, then we become attached to a certain outcome and averse to another outcome. And when that happens, there's a progressive chain that has been explained by the ancient holy text Bhagavad Gita, which says, when you're attached and averse, sooner or later you start feeling grief for yourself. You become a victim. I mean, an 8,000-year-old text tells you first you become a victim, then you become angry, because now you want to put the blame on someone, if not God or another person.
Yes.
You're peeved, and then you're resentful. And that leads to what's known as a delusional mindset. So a delusional person looks totally normal, talks normally, is even
Talks like a
applauding on the
duck, talks
stage,
like a duck.
but something's not right. You're entitled, you're upset, you're doing 2 + 2 = 5, you're making wrong judgments. And then the Gita says, after delusion, you have what's known as a soul memory loss. Like you forget deep down the kind of knowingness of wholeness that we all have deep inside, and that starts going away. And that connection with the sun, moon, something wonderful that goes away. And at the final stage, we become self-destructive people. We make that phone call we shouldn't be making. We send that email we shouldn't be sending. We may pick up a gun and shoot someone. We may, do things that we live to regret, and our planet pays the price for it. So this, it's like an 8-step thing, a process that I've talked about. And Sue, don't you think knowledge itself is medicine? When we can see that, we don't do that. So then in the second part, I talk about how we can discipline our own mind so it listens to us. It doesn't do its own thing. How can we work with our own apparatus so that we're the master of our castle, rather than like just our senses want cheesecake, we're on a diet, we're eating a cheesecake. It's like,
I'll just have a little bite.
Just a little bite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the final part, I talk about how to live with this kind of sovereign power non-violently, peacefully, ethically with the whole world. We don't want to get, because you do get powerful with these readings, but I don't want anybody getting so arrogant with them. You want to, and I even have a section on, say you're leaving a relationship. How do you do it in a non-violent but sovereign way? What can you think? What can you do? So I feel like it's a very here and now book. I mean, I'm receiving letters from all over the world saying, wow, I was always, puzzled by this ancient Hindu wisdom. And I always thought it was mystical and beautiful, but it's downright important psychological teachings for today's, people of today. Yeah.
People for today.
Yes.
Your latest book, The Sovereign Self. I want it in my hot little hand so I can show everybody. But for audience, don't worry. I will make sure that I post everything on the Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff's there anyways. And of course on the website. So with that, we are going to take a quick commercial break in the radio world. And then during YouTube, we're going to have a little chat. So join us over there if you'd like. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes.
Okay, all clear.
Yay. Okay, so we're still live on YouTube, but just taking a commercial break on terrestrial radio. That's all.
That's wonderful. How long has this radio show been running?
I've been doing my platform for over 10 years, off and on. There was a little break I took. I had my daughter had a head injury and I took some time off. And then that was actually a full radio network, like Monday through Friday. And it was a lot. Now I've been back on just my one show Tuesdays and I love it. It's more intimate. It's easy peasy. And I love the platform to be able to showcase people like yourself. And
well, you're clearly a pro. That was obvious.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. But this is my passion, right? So, when you're in that, it's the infinite, right? And I love this. I love this conversation. I truly love that authentic and genuine and bringing people to the forefront to offer the education. And for me, it's breaking down. And I was just rewriting my bio today, and I was talking to some other people, and we were saying it's like breaking down the Rubik's Cube of personal development. Breaking it down.
That's really well said. Yeah.
Right? Because you know what that Rubik's Cube is. And it is that. It's breaking it down. It sounds similar to what you've done in your essence and for your latest book with The Sovereign Self. It sounds like exactly what you've done. You've broke it down into tangible, practical application that we can all relate to.
There's a topic in the book called Swadharma, which talks about how you must be aligned with what your soul was meant to do. Like you were clearly meant to be doing this, and I was meant to be doing that. And then what are the signs and symptoms of that? So it says you don't want to do what, like follow scripts and do what your parents tell you to do, but just do. And so I would be happy to talk about that if you wanted to.
Yes, the script.
Yeah.
Bring it in like the script.
Like what should be the vocation? How can you be sovereign doing that?
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, and we can just intuit. And I wish I had the book in front of me, love. I wish I would have been able to just tactile and be with it, but I will. They promised me it should have been here. I don't know. The dog ate it, but not really.
The dog's going to get really sovereign and
Yes. I'm sorry, Benny. Are we going back?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. All right, if you're just tuning in, you're halfway through the show. Yeah, turkeys, you got to go back. Go to SueLundquist.com and /newsletter, and you can sign up for the newsletter. You can get all this juicy, yummy, beautiful information and all of our hosts' information and where to find their books, their content and information. So if you, and we don't spam or do any of that stuff. I give you really good content. And actually I do readings every week, just to kind of set the stage for all of us as well, pulling cards and setting our intention and loving on you. So with that, you can go to SueLundquist.com /newsletter. And SueLundquist.com, you can find all the Facebook links, the Instagram links, all that juicy stuff right there. The sovereign self. Do you guys hear that? The sovereign self. How can you be sovereign and accept, right? That acceptance, that authentic and genuine acceptance within yourself without the shame, right? Did I lose her, Benny? What happened? Where'd she go? Are we good?
I'm right here.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
It was more of a statement than a question, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay, I'll do a different influx next time. Question. How can we be our sovereign self? And we were talking at YouTube earlier. Not wanting, needing, desiring, or having to do what mom and dad have done. Let's explain that a little bit more.
There's a beautiful concept called Swadharma. Swa means self, and Dharma means what's going to hold you, the path, the truth, the big truth, you know. And we've all heard the word Dharma, and Dharma makes us aligned with the whole universe, not just with mom and dad or our culture or our boyfriend or Uncle Benny.
Yeah.
It's like the big thing. And it talks about 4 kinds of big Swadharma opportunities which can help us know ourselves. So the first one is, are you somebody who feels turned on by creating abundance, wealth, material things, you know? It means you have a Swadharma for wealth. So you want to create wealth for yourself, you want to create jobs for others, you make our planet more comfortable through this wealth. And I can't believe that this ancient teachings from India, which predate even Hinduism, these teachings are telling us you were meant to be doing this and unapologetically go ahead.
Today's time.
You know, and think about it and create it. And so, you know how we poop some like spiritual circles, poo-poo people who are trying to be spiritual entrepreneurs or whatever. But it says, no, you were divinely constructed to be able to do that. So I've had students who've, you know, grown up in intellectual families and they're push away money, or, you know, spiritual families where to be poor is supposed to be, you know, a badge. And when they study about Swadharma from me or read my book, they go, all right, then now I know why I get these brilliant ideas or why, you know, I want to do what I want to do. So that's one, the Swadharma of wealth. Then you have another kind of deep soul vocation, which is like of being a leader. And so if you notice that you're often wanting to have an opinion about causes, and you may not bother with petty things, but you can't stand injustice, and you're the teacher who's most, you know, vociferous on a PTA meeting maybe, or about, you know, the stop sign near your neighborhood where cars are going too fast. It could be a small thing, it could be a big thing like Nelson Mandela. It doesn't matter, but it's like, speak your truth, own it. Let nobody threaten you. Hold on, let go of everything but your right to have an opinion. Be a leader. Be a leader of Dharma for everybody. And so this is the Swadharma, or the vocation of the soul, to show the way. And I love it because I have some of that. And once I read that, I realized I'm not the kind of spiritual leader of a 2,000-year lineage who's just going to sit there with her eyes closed while the world,
Not me either.
No. Yeah.
No.
So on my own podcast, I mean, I'll record fiery podcasts when George Floyd was murdered brutally. So I'm like an activist on the side for fairness, for justice, for equality, for a better world. And so I know that I can't do it full time, but I recognize that in part of me. And so through my writing and my teaching, some of that comes out. For you too, for example, Sue, through these conversations, through your radio show, through your network in the prior decade when you had that, you're shaping the world with your guests, your opinions. And if somebody takes that away, you're going to curl up and not know yourself. If you try to be something else just because your daughter wanted you to be that person, you could do it for a few days, but not without killing your soul. And so I wish people are hearing this and saying, you know what, I need to give expression to that. And don't just think it, write it, publish it, start a blog, do what you need to do to be that opinion shaper. The third one is, I love it. It's like, maybe you're just born for pleasure. Get that.
Can we sprinkle that on everything, please?
Maybe you're just meant to go shopping for your barbecue on Sunday. Maybe you just want to hold some job that pays your bills and buys your vacation to Florida. Good for it. So it's like, it's saying, don't overthink it. Don't feel small. You've done other stuff in other lifetimes, because, the Vedas believe in multiple lifetimes. And it goes, this is your good karma, just to have a simple life, simple or gorgeous, but it's like pleasure driven. You love sensual things, perfume, scents, cakes and pastries, and a beautiful home to the level that you can afford it. And so you might be doing a lot of stuff, and people say, well, why do you do it? There may not be a cause attached to it. There may not be like a desire to be wealthy attached to it. It may just be why I enjoy it, pleasure. And so I remember this life insurance agent. She was a student of mine, and she's so frustrated. She thought she was not going anywhere. And once she studied this, she just fell in love with her cubicle and the little plant on her cubicle window. And, like she just accepted herself more for the life that she had. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Wait, okay. I want everybody to hear that, because it's all relative. It's all for your own self. There's no shame. There's no guilt. This is your sovereign, authentic, genuine self. So how do you get there? Well, first start by reading The Sovereign Self and doing the book. I love that. And what keeps coming up for me is, it's like a big check mark of permission. Your book says, girl, boy, whatever, check, you have the permission. You have what you said, the vocation of the soul. Yes. You have permission. So with that permission, can we talk about, because this is a huge thing for me, it's from victimhood to accountability and responsibility, because everything that's going on or that has happened in your life, not happened to you, that's a different language, happened in your life, are opportunities. And you can take that with growth mindset, or you can take that, growth mindset of accountability and responsibility and gaining wisdom from that, or staying in the victimhood. How can we have that conversation and educate the audience based on The Sovereign Self?
Well, I feel that, I'm so glad that you're putting a plug in for read that book, because I think the Vedas were a big into self-information. I think they were the first self-growth movement the planet had seen, really. And it was all about leading your life from this place of choice. So we can choose to be in alignment and live the of our soul, or we can live in guilt, try to, be like our neighbors or like meet the expectations of our parents. For example, I remember this student who was a gardener. She loved gardening, but all her parents and her brother were PhDs. They were into teaching at universities in California and across USA. So she had this guilt around being a master gardener. They didn't approve of her. They looked down upon her for not completing her master's. And she was somewhere growing these beautiful things, but she was broken inside from judgment. But then she, read my book. She came and studied with me. And now she's like saying, you know what? I'm so glad that, my dharma, my truth is flowing through the soil and getting my hands dirty. And I'm doing with every tree that I grow, that's a PhD right there. Those were her words.
Wow, I got goosebumps. That's so empowering, right? Don't you love that?
And why are we humans doing this? Why are we destroying each other? No daisy tells another daisy how to be a daisy, but we humans, we just tell our kids, our nephews, our friends, our girlfriends. It's like, why can't we just rejoice in each other being a unique version of the lights? But we're not able to do that. So in Sovereign Self, it's not just about a personal permission, but it's also about collective sleepwalking behavior and how can we snap out of it, really.
Oh, repeat that. Collective sleepwalking behavior. Oh, bring it.
Bring it. Absolutely. Yeah. So I do want to say there was one more Swadharma, or one more way of being authentic, which I didn't want to leave out in our conversation was.
Oh, yes, please.
It's called being the inner mystic. So some of us have the spiritual inclination. We might be CEOs and accountants and, in car sales or whatever, but there's a part of us that yearns to know God and truth and universe, and we gaze at the sky at night and wonder about it and wonder about our coexistence with everything. Are we one or are we separate? And the Vedas give a lot of encouragement to keep following this. And this is a lonely path. I mean, they're not talking about institutionalized religion. They're talking about that quest. And they ask us to embody it and really look at the question called, who am I now? What am I doing here? Am I this physical body or am I spirit? And what does that mean? And so that also gives a lot of permission, again, as you said, to just be that, like it's not weird to have that question or even be me, for example.
It's not weird. I love it. Yes. To each is their own.
Yeah.
Each is their own.
Yeah.
Really. The Dharma, your Dharma, and the inner mystic and the coexisting. And guys, it's a blanket of releasing the expectations, not only of yourself, but of others, and the expectations and the experience based on others that you have somehow, it's like the proverbial backpack of stuff that you're carrying from everybody else's experiences, right?
Yeah.
And shedding yourself of that to that sovereign self, and creating that environment with your book, and to be able to understand it from like a ground roots level. Does that make sense? Like, really, because I love that, because it's practical application. It's not, because I know I can't just go and pick up a mystic book from the Vedics and start reading it. But, and there's many of us that can't, but we have a desire to understand and to learn about our sovereign self and how to achieve that. And your book, The Sovereign Self, can help you get there. And I love it. It's like a big check of permission, be yourself, be infinite. Yes.
And truly, like you said, I loved Sue when you said you let go and you release expectations towards others, because The first level is when you start leading your truth. And then the second level is we're often not feeling sovereign because we're busy judging and resenting or pushing and pulling our loved ones into silos of how we want them to be and behave. But once we have these concepts, we can understand them and we can understand why your child is a certain way or your teenagers, what are they really yearning for? And then we can like celebrate them. And so I think like we can all breathe deeper when we are leading a sovereign way of life. I'm hoping that my book introduces the word sovereign not only as a like it's like a heavy adjective and but it's also a verb, and we make choices to be able to become sovereign in a given moment, in a given relationship, even a given lifetime. And often when I'm say if I'm having a discussion with my son that's going nowhere, he's 26, and so it's not going anywhere typically. Mom doesn't know anything, but then I kind of start smiling because I see his like frustrated attempts to be sovereign. And then I'll say something which kind of helps me take a few steps backwards, because then I remember I'm not just the mom, I'm not just the role that I'm playing, I'm the soul. I'm not just the role, I'm the soul.
Mm.
And then when I step back, everything my son is saying makes sense for him and therefore for me and the whole planet, and all is well with this mom and son duo. And so these kind of teachings really, I apply them in my own life.
Wait, I gotta wait, hold up. You just said something super juicy. This is a tagline: the role versus the soul. Hashtag role versus the soul. Benny, did you get that? That was beautiful. Step back. And that's to parents, that's executives, that's entrepreneurs, that's healers, that's however you're showing up in the world. If you can take a breath, take a step back, away from those expectations, right? And the role, and go to the soul and know that that is their journey, that is their experience, that is their language, allowing them to experience that for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And then when I remember I'm a soul, it comes pre-packaged with a degree of like non-control, grace, a bit of like light, and a little separation. And then I'm
yes.
able to
Yeah. The
see why
observer,
he is.
like
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Separating yourself from, yeah. And keeping yourself in a space of observer, but the CC's, compassionate curiosity, right? And from love, opening your heart, not from a space of judgment. And that's sticky right in there. And I love that part, because that's the real life 3D practical tools. Because yes, we can have these 5D, 3D conversations and we can go back to the soul, but you know what? I'm being triggered and my son's still, acting out, or I've raised 3 daughters still. They're all, pretty much adults, but still I can, my truth, or, you're saying the Dharma and the soul, my being can still be triggered. So having tools like the sovereign self in your book, and being able to recreate and create that soul essence. I think I'm just using language for myself here, but creating that inner soul dialogue. And you said role versus soul, just step back and have a soul versus that role. I love that. That's a hashtag, sister. You got to be stamp that. It's like a shirt.
I'll tell my social media team. Yeah, but it really, I mean, it's good to have these hashtags or like taglines, because they're like quick cognitive reminders.
Yes.
And to be honest, even when you're having an infatuation with something, like I'm infatuated with my little puppy dog, my Labradoodle, and I know that they won't live forever. So sometimes when I'm holding him and that this thought comes, because I've raised and lost, other dogs, and why do they have such a short lifetime? And to total love. So then when I hold him, and then like a shadow crosses over me, at that time also I remember that we're both souls, and not just a
Oh,
role. And that helps me not like fret or worry or get like possessive or irrational about wanting his body to live, live, live. Then I can enjoy him in that moment, like
yes.
yeah, I think,
Ah,
you know.
the
That,
sovereign self, right?
yes.
Truly the sovereign self, and having that genuine and authentic appreciation, love in that moment, and being sovereign in that moment, right?
So people can find many swamis coming out of India, like chanting brilliant Sanskrit and quoting those words and, and giving esoteric philosophy that vows you but doesn't enter your heart. But this
Oh,
is a book I've written after I used this knowledge to change my own life, to deal with the deaths of my pets, which are like babies. Any animal owner knows these are not pets. Like, we're their pets and they're like our babies. Every day I remember my lab and my German, and, they're like family members, right? And I've dealt with death in my family, from having a bustling home. We had deaths in a row, and, suddenly I'm alone. So I've dealt with all of this in my life, and then came this book through my
walking your
darkness and my
talk,
light.
walking your
Yeah.
talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
That
Yeah.
is powerful. And I am a huge proponent of that. Please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
No, no,
wanted the
you did
audience to
actually.
hear
That
that.
walking the talk is really important because we meet enough people who are talking the talk.
Yeah.
And somehow it's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of smoke, but no fire and no heat. And for those of you who are curious about the philosophy and the books, I also have translated some of those verses, and here and there where pertinent, I've posted something. So you get a taste of the original teaching, which might be two
Oh,
lines, and then my commentary, translations,
right,
example.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. We are talking about the sovereign self, the latest book. So how can we website? I'm looking at my notes here. What's your website, love?
I would say awakenedself.com is good, and
Oh,
Sovereign
there it is.
Self is available everywhere.
Awakenself.com. And then do you want to talk a little bit about your foundation before we head out?
Well, I wanted a foundation. Awakening is a big thing for me, but I didn't want to create new agey, hippie, airy fairy awakenings. I wanted awakening to me means awakening to your true sovereign potential, to your health, to your well-being, to your choices,
As a whole.
to the soul. And so I have this Awakened Self Foundation where I use the ancient Vedic wisdom, which includes yoga, which includes Ayurveda, which is a system of health and healing that's miraculous.
Yay! Yes.
And then, of course, this non-dual teachings of sovereignty. And people, benefit from these live classes as well as streamed online classes that people can take at their own convenience. And we're creating quite a stir, I believe. Yeah.
I believe there's quite a soul stir. It's that squeaky wheel. Now, audience, you've heard me talk about this. There is something, whether it's that squeaky wheel or something, maybe something agitated you. I'm like, yeah, I want you thinking that way. I want something to be stirring in you. I want and desire. It's not the want, it's that desire for you and your soul to have the sovereign self, to create the sovereign self, not only for yourself, but others around you. And why not lead by the example? I love that.
Yeah.
Please pick up the book, The Sovereign Self, and you can go to the awakenedself.com and then get more information there as well. We've got about 4 minutes left. Is there anything that you'd want to wrap up for us today?
I just want to say thanks for putting such a plug in for this book that psychologists and spiritual teachers are calling a classic. And if people were ever curious about what did these Hindu yogis know that they could live so long, teach the world meditation and yoga, then what did they know? What was their lifestyle? Was it a lifestyle of constraints and prudishness, or was it like a big blast? Surprisingly, it was a big blast. They had open sexuality, they had clarity, they had confidence, and they taught the world how to lead like really bold, true, authentic lives. And if you're someone of a candidate for that and you're feeling small and afraid right now, I would say read a page a day. This book will last a year. And people are doing that. I put that challenge out on my social media, and I'm receiving letters from Norway to South Africa saying we're reading a page a day. And, I read it at bedtime or first thing in the morning, and my life is changing. And I'm going to do this every year. So don't be afraid of the size of the book. Understand that very ancient, tried and tested knowledge is in your hands with that book. And thank you so much, Sue. It was such fun talking to you.
Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for stepping in the ring, being the example, shining the light, and bringing all of the Rubik's Cube of Veda, and bringing that to the Sovereign Self, your second book, and bringing that to the forefront in real life practical application that's retainable. And I commend you for that. And thank you for leading by example and leading by your sovereign self. I want to remind all of you how to get a hold of the book. If I can speak English, you can go to awakenedself.com, and you can also get more information about your online courses, your podcast, and other information as well on awakenedself.com. The book, The Sovereign Self, is also available all over, and it sounds true, correct? I love them. They're beautiful, beautiful people. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up in a ball for you all, where it's about 8:50, 6:57. Some big takeaways. Step back. And this is a hashtag, role versus soul. You got to make that a shirt or something, or soul versus role. I love that. I love that you are also walking your talk and leading by example. Thank you so much. It's not always an easy task. It's not. I know it to be true. And thank you for the Sovereign Self and the permission and the guide and the tools and the information that says the how-tos, and it's okay. And it's okay to be who your infinite self is. And thank you so much. All right. Website again is theawakenedself.com. Please go and get the book. And it's been an absolute delight here. Thank you so much. I guess we've got like a minute. We can, if we chat, then we'll probably roll over. And Benny's like, nope, let's go ahead and scoop that up and go. I can just see him.
How about like some parting words? Just one little quick motion for our listeners.
Ooh.
Just a lot of love for all our listeners. We have every right to be sovereign. Every right. Love, love, love.
Love, love, love the sovereign self. And the audience knows that. It's a big Sue love. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. More information is coming to you at SueLundquist.com/newsletter. Until next week, each of you guys are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.